So we've got a major update in a fight to eliminate state suppressor bans. A lawsuit challenging a state suppressor ban is officially moving forward. A status conference was just held, and the court in this case made it very clear that it's not going to delay the current timeline for these arguments. That means that this case is advancing on schedule. And when you kind of zoom out on this entire issue, this is part of a coordinated two-front legal strategy to dismantle both the federal NFA structure and also state-level suppressor bans at the very same time. So let's break down what is happening in this critical case. Now, before we jump into this video, if you want to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is simply to subscribe. You can also click the like button. That tells the YouTube algorithm that you appreciate this content, and it simply shares it to more people. I also want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is 1st Phorm. You guys know that 1st Phorm's an amazing company. And also, maybe if you're on a health journey, maybe you still have a New Year's resolution and you're trying to get healthier, work out more, they have a ton of supplements that can help you along with your journey. Right now, I'm also kind of working out more. I've already lost 15 pounds since the beginning of this year. Working out more, taking more supplements, and just trying to take care of myself a little bit better. So if you're interested, you can check them out using the link down below. And if you order any supplements, they will give you a free 5-pack of protein sticks. Now, if you've been following the channel for a while, you will know that, one of the big things that's developed now is a direct result of the One Big Beautiful bill, and through that, the reduction of the NFA tax all the way to $0. With that change, it triggered a couple things. First, federal lawsuits have been launched in the federal district courts in Texas, challenging the remaining NFA registration and transfer requirements. Now, the second thing is now we have these state-level lawsuits challenging these state outright bans on suppressors. So, for example, in Texas, GOA, FRAC, Silencer Shop, Palmetto State Armory, and others are attacking the NFA's constitutional foundation now that there is a $0 tax on these items. But also you have the state level challenges as well. For example, in New Jersey, where Second Amendment Foundation, ANGRPC, ASA, and the NRA have joined together to file a lawsuit called Padua versus Plotkin, and they aim to strike down New Jersey's total ban on the possession of suppressors. So with this, we now have cases challenging the federal structure and other cases challenging these outright bans on suppressors in certain states. Both are moving forward all at once together, and this is part of a coordinated attack to go after the NFA. Now, you may be asking, what is going on with this New Jersey suppressor ban and why is this state challenge so important? Well, in this case, the plaintiff's arguments are very straightforward. They argue that the Second Amendment protects all arms and that suppressors are included in that term. They state that suppressors are either protected arms themselves or they are so integral to the operation of firearms that they're integral components and therefore protected arms as well. They argue that suppressors are in common use, that they've been lawfully possessed for over centuries, and they are widely legal across the United States and, they're owned in numbers that make them common use. They also point in this lawsuit to the wide legality internationally where a lot of other countries do not regulate these items. So not only are they common use within the United States, but also across the world. And in this challenge, they argue with the $0 NFA tax now in effect, they will become even more common. They will be used even more. And that's why these state bans need to be done away with. In this challenge, they also point to the Trump DOJ's current position in some statements that they made in the Fifth Circuit Peterson litigation, which dealt with suppressors. And in that case, the federal government acknowledged that suppressors are protected arms and that states like New Jersey cannot just outright ban these items, and to do so would be unconstitutional. Now, that was a big shift in critical acknowledgement from the Trump DOJ, and now that's being used in this New Jersey suppressor challenge. Now, here's where this ties into a current lawsuit, a mirror lawsuit that's also going on in New Jersey. In that case, is called FPC versus Plotkin. Now, in these cases, New Jersey is not engaging deeply on the merits of this case. Instead, they are kind of throwing out procedural defenses to try to get these challenges dismissed. New Jersey argues that suppressors are not arms, and even if they are, they claim that bans fit within the historical tradition of firearms regulations. They also claim that the plaintiffs here in these challenges lack standing, that this case is not ripe, and the complaint fails to state a legal claim, and therefore the court should just simply dismiss and throw these cases out. In other words, New Jersey is trying to avoid reaching the constitutional question altogether. The state is kind of in a purely defensive posture, attempting to get the court to not consider the constitutional questions in these cases, not deal with the merits arguments, but instead just dismissed them based on some procedural questions. But in this Padua challenge, there has been some positive movement in light of what has just happened in a status conference in that Padua versus Platkin case. And importantly, the court is not going to delay the current briefing schedule like the state of New Jersey wanted. There is no pause, no stall, and no procedural freezes. Arguments are moving forward under the existing timeline despite New Jersey potentially wanting to stall or have the case thrown out immediately. That signals something very important for these challenges going forward. The court here intends to address the issue and the merits and not simply bury it with procedural delays and just kick this case down the road. So why does this all matter? Well, if suppressors are protected arms, and if the federal government has already conceded that that position is correct, that they are protected arms, essentially, New Jersey's outright ban becomes extremely difficult to defend, especially under Second Amendment precedent like Bruin. Under Bruin, once the conduct is determined to be covered by the Second Amendment's plain text, the burden then shifts to the government. Here, the burden would shift to the state of New Jersey. The state therefore must show a historical tradition of banning suppressors, and that's going to be very hard for them to do so. Suppressors have existed since the early 1900s, I believe. They were widely sold and possessed. There is no founding era analog banning these type of noise reduction devices, and the $0 NFA tax kind of undermines that argument that these are items that are uniquely dangerous and unusual and exceptional items that can be regulated. And there is also a bigger picture with these cases going forward. This case here, this Padua challenge and the FBC challenge in the state of New Jersey do not exist in isolation. We now have the Texas federal challenges against the NFA registry and, transfer requirements, those remaining restrictions under the NFA despite the $0 tax. And the state suppressor ban challenges are also moving forward in New Jersey, but then we have other ones like in Illinois and also another one in the Ninth Circuit dealing with the state of California's ban. And you also, with all of this, have the current Trump DOJ and federal acknowledgement that suppressors are in fact protected arms. And this coordinated litigation and strategy across multiple jurisdictions and multiple states are kind of moving together to attack the NFA comprehensively. If those challenges in Texas succeed in weakening the NFA structure and New Jersey loses its ban, other state bans, including California, New York, and Illinois, become immediately vulnerable. This is exactly how major constitutional shifts actually happen, where you have multiple cases, multiple courts, and different kind of pressure points pushing the federal government and the states on multiple directions on a similar issue. So now we wait to see how the court here ultimately decides to rule on the pending motions. New Jersey wants to dismiss these cases. The plaintiffs here are actually pushing the court to address the merits and essentially strike this ban down. And with the briefing timeline now intact because of that current court order, and there's no delays being granted, we will now see current movement and probably movement sooner rather than later on this critical issue. It will also be interesting to see whether the Trump DOJ decides to formally intervene in this case as well, or maybe file a statement of interest or some sort of amicus brief in this case, supporting the plaintiff's position that these state bans outright on suppressors is unconstitutional because we saw them take that position in that Peterson suppressor challenge. So that's where things currently stand right now in this critical state suppressor ban case. The challenge to New Jersey suppressor ban is moving forward, and the court is not going to slow this case down. They have not issued any delays. Instead, they have affirmed that they are going to continue along with this case. So as this unravels more, as we get more information, I will let you guys know. If you like this video and you would like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is simply to like, comment, and subscribe. All of those things help to fuel the algorithm and just tells the YouTube algorithm that you appreciate this type of content and it should share it to more people. But as always, thank you so much for all of your support. And never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.